All around us, we are surrounded now by the impacts of the climate crisis. We're challenging the very concept of sustainability in the choices that we've currently been making. Now that's changing. I don't doubt that we will get to a net zero carbon economy. Will we get there fast enough to heed the science and avoid the worst consequences? That's the battle. That's what we're trying to do with Glasgow. What is happening, and what has been happening for 150 years, is that as we burn fossil fuels, increasingly now we recognize that the fumes, the waste product of burning that fuel, goes up into the atmosphere and creates a blanket in the atmosphere that contains the warming that comes from the sun. This fight is a fight to reduce the emissions that come from the energy choices we make to power our vehicles, fuel our homes, light our homes, and so forth. Our diplomacy is guided by what the scientists are telling us we must achieve. 3 years ago, they had a report in 2018. The IPCC gave us 12 years within which to make the critical decisions to avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis. Unfortunately, Donald Trump chewed up 3 of those years, pulling us out of the Paris Agreement, not doing anything constructive to move forward. And so we now have 9 years within which to make these critical decisions. And that's what COP26 in Glasgow is really all about.
In April, I announced the United States will double our public international financing to help developing nations tackle the climate crisis. And today, I'm proud to announce that we'll work with the Congress to double that number again.
We're reaching out to countries all around the world, some of whom are less developed countries and they don't have the wherewithal to be able to make a transition, and we want to figure out how we can help them. The truth is that today, solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, other alternatives that are going to come along are going to be hugely cheaper than coal is today. And that's why the market is moving. It's not because the government has said you shouldn't have the coal. Government has not done the job it needs to do to create the construct which governs what people do and holds them accountable. And corporations have not yet lived sufficiently by a standard of caring as much about the stakeholders as they do about the shareholders. But that's changing. And young people, particularly, obviously, have been extraordinary in translating their curiosity to find out what's going on. And as they find out, their anger and their frustration is being expressed in many different ways around the world.
What do we want? When do we want it? Thank you.
It is everybody's responsibility to be aware. But what's important is that we move rapidly to embrace the big changes we need. Elect people who are going to vote to move on the climate issue. We cannot afford to have deniers in the United States Congress any longer. The science is too clear, the imperative is too great. We have to move rapidly, and we need governance that is able to do that.